Gearheads know that some projects need so many parts, it feels like you need a whole storage unit just to store them. That's what eBay Motors' 122 million parts are for. Think of it as your virtual parts garage. They've always got the right fitment at the right prices. Use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Meet CocoVia Memory Plus with some of the most researched plant-based nutrients harnessing the natural compounds within the cocoa bean. To improve memory and brain function in just 8 to 12 weeks, try CocoVia Memory Plus capsules. Order today at cocovia.com. That's COCOAVIA.com and use coupon code CCV20 to get 20% off your order. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease.
Hey everyone, this is the Almost World Podcast. Bringing to you mind-blowing interviews with guests from all over the world. So settle down, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh yeah, by the way, if you like the podcast, please support Almost World Podcast on Patreon. Your support is what helps the podcast improve more and more. Welcome to Almost World Podcast. This is Elmo Ador Jr., your host. And it's awesome to have Leonard, Duane, Brand here. So my friend Duane is... can you introduce yourself, bro?
Okay, like you said, my name's Leonard Duane. I live in Alabama, more actually in the capital city of Alabama. I am what I would consider a seeker, which is one that is always seeking answers. I am an Omnist, which means I try to perceive the truth of all belief systems or religions, because they all contain certain perennial precepts that are common within every religion on the planet. And I try to see if I can't figure out a way to unite all those beliefs and explain them in one simple format.
And when you talk about being an Omnist, for example, what if I made up a new religion? Like we worship the god of cats, and then I make some rituals up and use that as part of my created religion. Would you also believe in my religion?
I would want to find out why you believe what you believe, and ultimately what are you trying to understand. But understand that a religion is in essence simply a map. If you drew a map of your neighborhood and then you sent it to me in an email, while I can get a vague understanding of your neighborhood, do I really know your neighborhood? No, all I've got is a map of religion. Spirituality, on the other hand, is I actually move to your neighborhood and spend some time there so that I gain that personal, intimate knowledge of your streets, the people, and all of this. A map can't show you that.
So what if my religion is something that does not contain the spirituality that you're talking about? It contains something different, then you will believe in it, right?
I may not believe in it, because belief is certainty, but I would say I would believe that is the path that you are seeking. Because you can accept something without agreeing with it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They assume that if I say, don't accept that, say you're into cross-dressing, or I don't agree with it. But if that's, what you want to do, who am I to judge? The only way I can ever judge anyone.
Okay, but it seems that it's synonymous to tolerating, I guess, welcoming. That's what acceptance is, rather than agreeing, is to believing.
Yeah,
right?
Because I've known people. Believing is actually just a certainty. You are convinced 100% that something is right. And like in many ways, like with an atheist, you'll tell you, no, there's nothing. I find that difficult to believe. But if you said you were agnostic, well, an agnostic just means I don't know. And what do any of us really know with 100% certainty?
And what do you find hard to believe in atheism?
I always ask, like an atheist, that if you did believe in God or a God, how would you define the God? And I've learned that most people either A, don't have a really good understanding of what God is, or they are angry with the church. They went to a church, they had a falling out, somebody there, was mean to them or whatever. And so in rebellion to church, they no longer believe in the God that those people said they follow.
Yeah, but I know a lot of atheists, and they're also my friends, and I talk to them and understand that they don't believe out of anger or hatred for God. They just don't see any reason to believe in one, and that's a genuine fact. I've talked to them, and so like I know they want empirical proof, right? No, they're just not convinced of it. Like if you, as you said, belief requires 100% certainty of conviction that you believe in something, and they don't have that. They don't see any reason why.
Brother, why not just say you're agnostic, which means that okay, there is still a possibility of there being a God. I just don't have any proof.
Yeah, but the possibility is, as they would say it, is that it compared to like Russell's teapot. Like there might be a possibility, but I don't see any reason to believe in it. Yeah, and I think you're familiar with Russell's teapot, right?
I've heard the name, but I'm not really that familiar with his teaching.
Yeah, it's that there might be a teapot out there in outer space that's floating around. There might not be, but if you were to think about it, like you would believe that there's no teapot out there because it's just a proposition that a human being made out of his own ideas. He made it up just this second. So yeah, but in terms of, for example, being an Omnist, and I was talking about for example, me making a new religion that I made. Would you accept that?
I would have to first study it a little bit and understand, the principles and all. Because like I said, like with me, with God, if I would tell you that for me, God is consciousness, being, existence. And with just those three concepts, can you tell me that existence does not exist? Or there is no such thing as being? Or there is no such thing as consciousness?
So in a way, you're not really an Omnist, but I'm not joking, but in a way you're a somnist, like you just believe in some religions, but not all of it.
Well, the religions that I probably, couldn't talk about are those that, I don't know anything about. And, considering there's probably an infinite number of religions on the planet, the only thing I can say for certain is that I'm extremely ignorant of a lot of things. And I don't, say that, I
think to be more precise then, a better word could be used rather than Omnist, because Omnist would like refer to the totality of religions.
No, like you said, if you said you worship cats, okay, why do you worship cats? What is it about cats that you see as a divine expression? What is it about cats that makes it worth worshiping them?
Mm-hmm. Because they make me happy, and they were worshipped by the Egyptians before, and I see the Egyptian culture as the inspiration for Jewish monotheism.
Right. I love cats. I've got several myself. And I've got a sister that has 2 dogs, and I utterly despise dogs.
I was just kidding about the cats, but I was just exploring an idea.
But I understand what you're saying. Yeah. But it's like I've got a relative that is dating a young female that she said she was Satanist. I'm like, okay. And what I found more disturbing about her was when I asked her, okay, well, what do you believe as a Satanist? And she's like, well, I really don't have any beliefs. I'm like, everybody has beliefs. Whether you're consciously aware of them or not, you have beliefs. I mean, even an atheist has a belief that there is no.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. In terms of epistemology, there are, in a way, things that we believe, but I guess other words can be used for belief as well. Like, I have maybe no or certain, you know. Okay. So, because I think that a lot of atheists or Satanists are really, really careful with the word belief or faith, you know, because others might conclude something out of that.
And also, they can get a lot of persecution if they go around. You could say, I'd almost use the word flaunting their religion because it's so unacceptable by the masses. I just want to meet one who, like there's an author named Michael Ford, he's actually Luciferian, but I would love to spend some time with him and just talk to him about what he believes, why he believes. I've got a couple of his books, but books aren't the same as the author. It's like you could write a book, I could read the book, but I don't know you. I know what you wrote.
And I want to dig deeper on you also on what you believe being I guess you're a monist, like, right, brother? Okay. So I have an idea of what you mean by God, you know, being the oneness, the being the everything, the consciousness or the totality of consciousness in the universe. But why do you call it God? You know, it's not actually the classical God that we talk about in a Christian or Islamic perspective.
Well, more proper, you could even refer to the gods as archetypes, like Jung spoke of, to where they are just, you know, an understanding of a specific concept, or, you know, we want to term them entities, but they're actually energies. Certain energies, certain frequencies, and all, certain harmonics have, you know, a power or essence to themselves.
Okay. So, who is this God that you worship?
If I use names, it's simply because I grew up in, you know, a Christian, Judeo-Christian type background. But also, I understand that when, you know, you say the word God, it's much like me saying the word president. It's a position. It's an office. You know, but who holds that office? And even, you know, if you go with the Old Testament, you know, Yahweh or Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, I am that I am. I am all that I am. But each of us, even in Genesis, stated that, you know, when we were created from the earth, from raw potential, because in Judaism, well, in Hebrew, that's what the earth actually implies, is its raw potential. From the earth, we can make anything we will ever need, including ourselves. But, you know, from this raw potential, he breathed his essence, his life force into us, thereby giving us life. Otherwise, we would just be golems. You know, we'd be automatons. But he wanted to give us a free will so that we can choose. Do we want to follow him or not? And that's our choice.
Yeah, is there any way you could stop the vibrating? Okay, cool. Thanks. But when it comes to, for example, this God that you're talking about, is he sentient?
Because, like I said, if you considered him, you know, consciousness or, you know, something like that, and his consciousness is in everything, then wouldn't that make everything, since we are sentient, wouldn't that make him sentient? We are aware, and he is aware of us.
Yeah, but how does he think? For example, the level of consciousness we have is due to the particular biological framework of our brain, and that's how our consciousness evolved to be this way. But at a universal level, consciousness would never be able to work that way, to have a level of sentience that you're talking about.
Well, if you considered each of us almost like a synapse in the brain, but also understand that the mind is far more than just the brain. The mind, ultimate mind, is eternal. Ultimate mind exists irrespective of any of us. If I died and I was the only person that believed in existence or consciousness or whatever, would that mean that existence and consciousness would cease to be because I am no longer? And like I said, a lot of times when people get on the discussion of God, it's a matter of synaptics or semantics, or, their understanding of what is God. And none of us really know for certain, because we only have, you could say, most speculations because of what we are taught. Everything we believe, we were taught.
Yeah, I agree, but when someone starts for example, a scientific claim or a philosophical claim on who God is, it's only respectful to be able to hold that claim and hold a coherent worldview, and not divert it into a paradox, right? So, example, if you can look at the Christian or Islamic theology, they really, really try to answer every question the best they can, in order to be seen as an integral belief system or theology. So, in terms of monism, I can see that in a way there are a lot of things that you still are not sure of.
Well, that's why at times, if I had to, I could probably go with I have certain agnostic tendencies, because I'm still seeking, and I will probably be seeking till I die. But I've always been one, I want answers. And to really understand God, I will have to transcend this physical form so that I can unite with universal consciousness.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say was that, for example, if you're going to hold like agnostic views, I think it's better to just say that you're agnostic, and you might have an idea of who God is, but you're just not sure of what his nature is, or his ontology, or how you may know of him.
Like, even you could read every book on, say, Christian theology out there, but just because you've read all the books doesn't mean you really know what it's about. You only know other people's opinion.
Yeah, but like, for example, Christian theology, and they try to understand the nature of God himself, and they explain it away, and a lot of them have apologists that have debates or proper debates with atheists or Muslims, and also on the other sides, and that's what makes them like very, very strong foundation in our society, because in a way they try to explain everything and help attempt to give an answer to almost every question. But I guess they have their flaws, of course. But in terms of, for example, monism, I still think that it's a belief system that's still developing, and might grow into something big in time.
Yeah, because have you ever heard the concept of a monad? M-O-N-A-D.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a one object.
We are each monads. But what are we monads of? That would be, in my opinion, God. Much like I said, we are each, in essence, a synapse in God's brain. But God is also more than just the brain. He's a mind. He's a consciousness, an essence.
Yeah, but in a way, for example, I wouldn't actually say that God's ontology is simply consciousness, you know, because that would mean that you would be able to actually understand what God is.
Oh, yes and no. If you, like with you are, a focused expression. You can only know your immediate surroundings. But if there was a way that, say, I could unite with every mind on the planet, then I could understand everything that they understand as well. And that's the problem is right now, because if you want to use the term sin, we're all disconnected. We've got to find a way to, either in thought, we all think different, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We're disconnected in distance, beliefs, rather than, say, if you and I didn't agree on our beliefs, most people want to fight about it. I'm like, no, that's not necessary. We're all entitled to our belief. You disagree with me, you're right. That, my beliefs or my opinions, those are yours.
In terms of this disconnection, do you think that if someone, for example, lives his life a certain way, when he dies, he will be connected to God, and others who live their lives a certain way that would be bad, they would be continue in eternal disconnection with God?
Well, in ways I would say that I use somewhat quantum physics, since we are all energy. When our physical form dissolves, and we return to energy, we will return to the source of that energy. But also at times I wonder if, like you say, with an atheist who's saying, well, there is no heaven, no hell, nothing, does God give them what they believe? And they just cease to exist since they never believed in. But also, that's you could say the problem of words is a lot of times words can't really convey what we mean them to.
Yeah, but there are other words they can use to convey what you mean, that might be close to what you mean.
Yeah, but if the person doesn't know those words because of ignorance.
Yeah, but for example, can you put it in a poetic way, I guess? Poetry could be a good tool in order for me to understand what you mean by, if an atheist dies, because he did not believe there is a God will make his existence where there is no God.
But like I said, that's just my opinion. At the same time, I don't know, but I do firmly believe that, since everything is energy, we will all return to that source. So for all I know, the atheist, being energy, is still going to return to that source to either, live on in the concept of eternity and all with that energy, or possibly be reintegrated into another body and continue. Basically, because I also have the belief that, our lives are like a classroom in a school. And if you fail a class, what happens? You get to repeat it, because God wants you to learn that lesson that he was trying to teach you. But in his love, he's willing to give you as much time as possible. It's also like, have you heard of the concept of the egg? If you go to YouTube and just, type in the egg, it's a concept that, we are all, each other. That the only way I can gain complete understanding would be, I've got to live everybody's life. So I am you, you are me. I am Hitler. I am every Jew he killed, every Polak he killed. I am Stalin. I am the people he killed. I am Obama. I am Trump. I am everyone. But right now, I am only experiencing one.
I want to know what, for example, when you live your daily life, what goes to your mind? Like, for example, oh, this my a friend died. What happened to him? You know, like, or I'm gonna. What is my goal for my life? Because do I want to avoid just be reincarnated, and I just want to graduate this life, you know, and be one with God? How do you think? What's your thought process?
Well, I hope that, I can get the lessons right and won't have to repeat the class. But if I do, then I'm okay with that too, because it just gives me, I don't want to say more time, but more experience, because time is an illusion. Time is simply a method we use to organize our experience. But does time really exist as we perceive it? Like I said, only as a means to organize experiences. But if you consider, eternity like the ocean, if you walk out into the ocean and pick up a handful of water and say, this is my life, well, that handful of water, while it's of the ocean, is not the ocean, because there's so much more left. But we're going to relate, and like I said, with me, I can say that, okay, my birth was here. I went to school here. I graduated here. I got married here, divorced here, and so on and so on. But in the concept of eternity, all of those events happened simultaneously, because the only thing that really exists is now and here. Time is an extension of now. Space is an extension of here.
Okay. So I want to ask then, for example, what is your opinion on, for example, evolution? Do you believe it?
I would say parts of it. I don't necessarily believe that a tadpole became a human.
So how did we come of this?
But at the same time, certain species have evolved. They've adapted because of necessity. Like originally, you could say maybe giraffes didn't have as long of a neck as they have, but because they needed to eat, leaves that were higher up on the tree, over time their neck grew to allow them to survive.
Okay, so are you talking about like
it's more
micro evolution
versus
rather
macro.
than macro evolution?
Yeah, I still have a lot of questions about macro.
Okay, so in a way, are you young creationist?
Yes, but also I understand that there's a possibility that, say, we want to believe that mankind is 6,000 years old, but what if that's just one of many cycles? And before Adam and Eve, there was, you could say, another world that was created, existed, and was destroyed. And how many times has that cycle, conspired?
So you're talking about an infinite universe or something? A multi universe?
Yes, because I do also believe that there's a possibility that in another universe, like in this reality, I am not a wealthy individual, but perhaps in another one, I'm the richest man on the planet, or in this reality, I'm divorced. In another one, I'm not. And, or in another one, I never got married in the first place. Or I married someone different. My children are different. And there's so many variables that it really becomes difficult to completely fathom all the probabilities. And that's all that really exists in the future is probability. Possibilities are in
Okay,
the
so
past.
in a way, I think you're interpreting the Bible in a meta narrative, right? Like archetypal stories.
Yeah, a lot of it's allegory. It's stories that are based on fact, but at the same time, the events were meant to teach a higher spiritual lesson that a lot of people just don't get. And I'm still trying to study them myself to figure out, okay, much like with the onion, is there a deeper layer I haven't reached yet?
And I wanted to ask you about, for example, free will. What's your opinion on that? Do we have individual agency, and can we affect the outcome?
Only to the effect that we can either accept an event or experience, or we can reject it. But it's almost like that dualistic event. I can decide, okay, today I'm going to leave my house. I will accept leaving my house, or I can reject leaving my house and I'll just stay home. But I have absolute free will over which choice I make. I see someone out in public. Okay, I can decide, do I go over and talk to them or do I not? But it's essentially a yes-no dualistic. Either you do or you don't. But either way, you chose to do something.
Okay. So what about morality? What's your take on that?
Morality is more based upon what one values. Like if you value life, then that will decide your morality. You're not going to go around attacking people. You're not going to do anything that could cause harm to others because you value life. If you don't value life, then it doesn't matter to you. It's not important. And ultimately, morality is all upon what each of us perceives as important.
So what about, for example, love? You mentioned earlier love. That was very interesting.
You have to first figure out, okay, what do we each mean by love? If it's just acceptance, then love is love. You can accept anyone and everything. But there are different dynamics within that concept that, like ultimately I believe, when like the Bible said, that a man should be with a woman and vice versa, that deals more with procreation, creating offsprings than anything. That's what marriage is for. And if you couldn't create offsprings, maybe you're barren or whatever, then unless you want to adopt, why get married? And like I said, for someone to say love is love, when does it become a problem? Love is love, and Bob down the street loves a 6-year-old, even though he's in his 60s. Should we just accept that as love is love? Or should we say, we need to step in and protect the child? Or incest? At what point does it become a problem?
So, bro, Duane, it's been awesome talking to you, and I want to ask you one last question. Because you're a monist, and an omnist, you see there's truth in almost all religions, and I want to ask you what your advice is to someone who would be interested in this sort of view, and that what action should one take to make a good difference or change the world to be a better place?
Always seek answers for yourself, and don't just accept the answer from someone who claims to be an expert, because they may not know the actual answers you seek. It's like I've always taught my kids, learn to think for yourself.
So that's the end of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, Elmo Ador Jr. And thank you for listening in. And please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow this. Please. Thanks.
It used to be hard to find the exact auto parts you needed, and that meant spending a lot of time at swap meets. It's a different game now when you can order exactly what you need from eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts, so you can always find the right fitment. Spend less time searching and more time building with the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.